All right, 9:23 here on the show. Joining us right now, as advertised, Rafael Stone, General Manager of the Houston Rockets. First of all, thanks for taking time to come in studio. We got some Mexican food out there, but I got to get Sam to bring us some plates in so we can eat while we do it, kind of like a podcast or something. But thanks for coming in studio. What a ride. What a ride for you personally. You worked with the Houston Rockets, not in a general manager capacity, obviously, but you've been here for Jeff Van Gundy. How long? Wait, why don't you tell everyone, how long have you been here? I didn't realize you were here for Jeff JVG as well.
Yeah, we worked together for a year, something like that, year and a half. I came towards the end of the 2004-2005 season. So I've been around for a minute. Yeah.
And so you have seen the ups and downs. McGrady and Yao, you were there for McGrady and Yao.
Yep.
You've been every iteration of James Harden Rockets. And now we're in a new cycle. As someone who has been a lifelong Rocket fan, this is the new cycle of Houston Rockets. And you are the architect of that, along now with, obviously, with the help of Ime Udoka, the head coach. I do want to ask you, I mean, you've had a Midas touch with a lot of these first-round picks that you've had. How much have you learned from Ime as it pertains to the type of person you want to draft? Or, I don't know, you can answer it yourself. What have you learned from Ime as it pertains to the evaluation process?
I've learned a ton from Ime. I don't think much, if anything, on the evaluation process. Like, almost everybody kind of came in. Like the bulk of the team came in before Ime joined us. Mm-hmm. So I think on that front, it's almost like the inverse, which is that, like, the things that I really value in players, he does too, and he knows how to enhance. So it's almost like we're doing our thing in the front office, and we're trying to identify these guys who can play. And what's made the partnership with Ime awesome is that the types of guys that we gravitate to, he obviously he likes them, but also he knows what to do with them, and he makes them better, and he's done a very good job developing them. So it's been kind of a really seamless fit, but kind of the inverse. Like, I think the way, like, I'm old. I'm not great at changing, like, in some respects.
Right.
Like, I try and always be learning and everything else, but big fundamental changes are probably not in store for me in terms of the way I approach things. So what I found is that he's just the perfect partner, or thus far has been the perfect partner to kind of work with.
One thing I love about Ime is his standard and his ability to have accountability on the team. We saw it several years while trying to build this culture, and, like, you're going to sit next to me if you're not doing what I'm asking you to do late in games, no matter who you are. And people think that that's hard to do in the NBA because it seems unique to have a defensive standard in particular. But with him, is it easier to build a team because you do have a standard and you can weed out exactly what you don't want?
It's much easier to having a really good head coach, which obviously he is it's crucial to building a team. And there's people have won in the NBA in a billion different ways. The best way to win is to get some transcendent player who, like, who gives you some enormous advantage. But there's an enormous amount of luck. I mean, if you need to have the best player on earth in order to win, only 1 out of 30 teams can possibly do that. And so we never, that was never my, like, obviously you want to get the best players you can get, but you never want to be dependent upon kind of that type of luck, and so then having a head coach who can build something that's greater than the whole, the sum of its parts, is enormously important. And I think Ime is great for that.
Two guys that you had a lot of success with are second picks in the first round. And historically, it doesn't happen a whole lot where the second pick that you have in the first round is as impactful as Alperin and Tari Eason have been for your team. I mean, especially Alperin. I want you to take us through Alperin, because Jalen Green was the easy decision, I would assume, with the first pick in that draft that you had, the first round pick. And Jalen was a good player. Jalen wasn't as consistent shooting and things like that, and we know, and he's been moved, and Kevin Durant, we can talk about that in a second. Alperin quickly established himself as a core player and has done nothing but go up. What did you see? What was your process with Alperin Sengun when you brought him in? And did he even exceed your expectations up to this point?
I don't think I would say with all these guys, like we hope, like he's hit kind of the upside of what we hoped.
Yeah.
But we definitely saw it. We wouldn't have. I mean, we traded 2 first-round picks to get him.
To get up.
Yeah. And so we wouldn't have done that if we didn't see somebody who could be this type of impactful player. There are guys who can be very good, and then there are guys who maybe can be a little bit more than that. And so we saw that. I mean, on Jalen, like no pick is easy. Like the second pick in the draft is like sometimes the
Big
first
bus rate.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. Sometimes the first pick in the draft is easy, but even then you're nervous. It's just more there's this enormous consensus and you're not going to buck it. But once you get past 1, it's never like a no-brainer. That's A. But B, yeah, on Alperin, he was the MVP of the Turkish league, which is it's definitely a top 4 or 5 league in the world.
Older men, I mean, grown men playing that, right? When he was a young guy.
No, like guys making like $5 million a year, $6 million a year, like really good players. When you watch the Olympics or you watch the World Championships and you watch these guys play, and you're like, boy, that's like, because there'll be NBA players sprinkled in, and all these guys look like the NBA guys. Like there's not a difference. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those guys are playing professionally, whether it's in Spain or Turkey or whatever. And yeah, and he was the MVP of that league at 18. The only 2 people who've had comparable success in top tier leagues are Jokic, who had it the year after he was drafted. So kudos to Denver because they drafted him before he dominated his league, and Luka, and so I thought, I mean, good indicator. And then just watching film, like he just does special stuff. Like it was tough. It was COVID. Like I never met him in person because you couldn't. But yeah, he was just a huge target. We picked Jalen, and then I don't know. I think starting at like pick 6, I started throwing stuff. We were very much trying to come out of that draft with those 2 guys, and I started throwing stuff at teams, trying to trade up all the way. Yeah, like immediately after we made our first pick, we were trying to get him, and we were lucky we got him.
How much light can you shine on how the Kevin Durant trade came about, moving Jalen, and then when you're done with that, like what's that night like for you when you're done with it? Do you just sit back and celebrate, or what do you do?
No, definitely didn't celebrate. It was long, like that we understood what they wanted to get for Kevin, and it just didn't make sense for our team starting, I don't know, a year ago. Mm-hmm. And so there were just all these conversations, and just it was a very, very long process. I think the thing about it from my perspective, I mean, obviously we did the trade. We're really happy with it, and I've gotten to know him a little bit, and I'm really happy with him as a person. But the flip of that is as people and as coworkers, Dillon and Jalen were just awesome. And we were the number 2 seed last year on a very, very, very young team. And I thought we played Golden State really tough. And so, I
still think you guys are the better team. We're the better team.
I mean, they won.
Yeah,
so, it is what it is. But I think that, we really liked our group. And I really like them. And, I just have a ton of, I don't know, goodwill, thankfulness. I don't know what the right word is for both Jalen and Dillon. And just in terms of what they gave to me as a person, to our organization. I mean, like never once with either of those guys did I feel like they didn't care. they weren't giving me everything they had. And we asked both of them to do really hard things, and they did it with a smile on their face. And, and they were just awesome. I think they played the 2 most games of anybody over that 2-year
Jalen
period.
was a horse.
No, like
he showed up.
and it's not like he just stayed healthy, guys. He'd come in like limping. You're like, oh, he ain't going tonight. And then like he'd be on the table for 2.5 hours and be like, nah, I'm out there.
I met you. So my son Mason came up to say hi, and so he's, you let him come and say hi when he turned 16, which I appreciate. And you introduced us after practice to Kevin Porter Jr. And I know you really liked him on a personal level.
Yeah,
KPJ.
super likable.
But
Yeah,
that's why I wondered. I feel like you really get attached to some of these guys who you've drafted, who you've watched grow up. And Jalen's a guy who grew up inside the system. How difficult was that for you making? I mean, from a basketball standpoint, no question, you understand that move completely. On a personal level, how tough was making that move? Because I can tell you, Rocket fans, it was kind of split when we talk about it, because everyone had kind of, this was our little team that had come up, and you feel a lot of affection for these guys.
No, it's extraordinarily hard because like you can't fake. You either like people or you don't like people. You can't fake relationships. Right. And again, like I'm not, and I'm really bad at faking. Like, so like one of the, I joked, I didn't joke, I am old. Like one of the things that comes with kind of age is you get to know yourself a little bit, right? And so like either I'm in or I'm not. Like that's just me, right? And so with our guys, I'm in. Like I want them to be the best they can possibly be. And the way I do that is like the way I help them is like whatever you need, I'll give on a personal level. Like I'm gonna be there for you, right? And I am, and especially when like I don't know 5 years ago now. I think it was 5 years ago, maybe it was even 6. But like we kind of like we were like, okay, we're on this path. We're gonna go young, and we're gonna bring in a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Like they're the same age as my kids. That they're younger than I have twins who are 23. So a bunch of these guys most of them are younger than my kids, and very much like obviously you love your children and you want the best for them and everything else. And these aren't my children. It's not the same, but the point is I want to pour into them. I went about it like I'm going to pour into them like I would want someone to pour into my kid, as their career is developing and on and off the court. Sorry.
No. That's all right. Dell wants to ask a question as well.
During trade negotiations or the process, the insiders who report to the public the news of what's going on position it like a high-stakes card game where they're playing each other against each other. This team wants this team wants that. How is it for the guys inside? Does it feel like that, or is it kind of a very relaxed situation as you guys figure out how it's going to work?
It's probably neither. Like it's definitely not like the intensity level that people think on social media is definitely wrong. It's not like we're not at a poker table with looking at reads. You're not doing that, right? But it's definitely not relaxed because you've got too much to do, and in the end, the NBA is a pretty illiquid market, and so things tend to condense around the trade deadline, kind of the week before, and then kind of 2 weeks before the draft, something like that. And so because that those are the periods to get deals done, if you're negotiating on one deal, you're also juggling 10 other things that might pop up and might end up being more interesting, And so I'd say it's neither, but it's, and then a lot of the stuff on social media or the insiders are just lies. Like many of the insiders are not insiders. They're literally just talking to get clicks or to get views.
Yeah, really
or whatever.
is like that. We always think that's probably like that with some of those guys, but
yeah, no, like there will be people who say, and we have a really small front office, the Rockets do. We're the smallest in sports because I can't talk to 100 different people. Like, and I don't see the point of having a bunch of people that don't have input. Like I want everybody who works with us to matter, yeah. Right? Yeah. And so they'll say, I talked to a Rockets executive and they're thinking this. And I know what I'm thinking. And I'm definitely not thinking that. And the odds that they somehow randomly talk to one of the 3 other people who are in discussions on this, who like don't talk to the media at all. Like, no, they didn't talk to him, right? Like there's no, they didn't talk to him at all. And so they just went out there and lied. and maybe they talked to like somebody in season ticket sales. I don't know. I don't know
I
what
got
they
a call
did.
the other day from one of your season ticket
Good.
guys. Like,
You should have
I
bought.
said that was my father-in-law's account. I was just on.
Do you
they're
have
not-
to combat that? Like, do you have to combat those rumors?
But you
ever?
don't, though. You rarely do.
Nah, I just
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just mean with
that's
like the
not my
people you're
thing.
working with. I don't mean publicly.
Uh-uh.
Like, did they ever like? Is this true? Like, is this?
No, well, like if there's one that really bothers me, I will double check to make sure that like that happened. Somebody wrote this summer. It wasn't a bad one, but they wrote this extensive thing saying that they talked to a Rockets executive. And then they said that they also talked to a Rockets coach. But it was like a verbatim quote, and I was like, there's no chance one of my guys said it. And they didn't.
Gee
They didn't
whiz.
say it. So that person just wrote, I don't know if they talked to a coach or not, in fairness, but I know at 100% they didn't talk to an executive. And I'm like, if you're going to give somebody a diatribe on a player, which was this was, then like, let's talk about, let's make sure that we're aligned on it. But again, it didn't happen.
Right.
And so, but there's also no consequences for the media members who do this. Like there's just no consequences.
No, that's true. You've gone from the hunted. You got from the hunter to the hunted. No one expected you to do what you did last year. So now the mindset will change a little bit for players because now it's less about making the playoffs or, competing. It's ramped with Kevin Durant. It's ramped up.
City wants that parade.
It's ramped up. The city's excited, and we've seen it happen with the Astros before. You've been here. You know what happened with the Astros. They had a young core. They grew together. I can see a similar pathway. I think the Texans are kind of running parallel with you guys. There's a lot of similarities between D'Amico and Ime and you and Nick Casario and some of the growth that we've seen with young core drafted players. Is there a different mindset? How do you view it now? Because teams are gunning for the Rockets. You're not a surprise to anybody anymore. How does that change things for you, for Ime, for the players?
I mean, I hope it doesn't. Like, first of all, we're definitely still the hunters. Like, we didn't win anything. So like we need to be hunting, right? Yeah. And so, but no, I mean, like I get that public perception changes year to year. I think internally we expected to be as good as we were last year, and we were very unhappy when we lost basketball games. I do think Ime and I were talking about this like 2 days ago. That's one thing we need to make sure we don't lose. We were the most unhappy team when we were losing. Like we did not lose gently. We did not lose
that's
well.
That's a good thing.
No, it's a good thing.
Does that come from Ime? Where does that come from?
Yeah, no, I think it comes. I give Ime a ton of credit for it. I do think it's an organizational thing. Like,
yeah, you drafted guys like that. Like Jabari strikes me as a good guy to have. Yeah. I always thought that was a really good pick. I think he gets lost a little bit. I always felt like his attitude and the way he approaches everything. I'm sure a lot of it comes from his dad. I felt like he was a really good pick for you this is the kind of guy you want on that roster.
Yeah, but by the time we picked Jabari, I think we had a good sense of directionally where we were going. He's fit great. Tari too, like Tari's just adult. Like
Amen.
And then Amen is like Amen and Dillon were the two like outliers, and so we need to like we're gonna miss Dillon in that respect, but like and Amen and Tari and Jabari and those guys just got to take
seems
more
like he's
load.
wired. He is really wired up the way you want an elite competitor wired. Is what it seems like.
No, losing isn't his thing. And then I skipped over Fred, but I shouldn't have. Like Fred's probably the toughest player in the NBA, and Fred's like 100% all about winning. All the rest of the stuff doesn't matter.
How about him boxing with Ime? You like that?
Oh, everybody is like they got the video of that, but no, all those all those guys are like Amen and Ime were sparring the other day. Like Ime came in like talking about how they're both supposed to be pulling their punches and neither was good at it. Yeah, no, like the whole it's just cardio and conditioning, and everybody's been getting it in this summer. They're doing a really good job.
What are your expectations for Reed Shepherd? Because everyone I've talked to says like legitimately great things about him and what he can do. And the reason he didn't play was just weren't minutes there for him. It had nothing to do with skill and talent. What do you guys expect for him this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we expect him to build off last year. Like he kind of was creeping up, and then I think around the midpoint of the year, he really got comfortable. His play started to really improve, and at the very end of the season, we were able to get him extended minutes. He played really well in those games offensively. He's got some really special defensive tools, and so we need him to kind of combine those with being solid. And he's done a good job of working on his kind of being solid and being physical all summer. We just need Reed to take a step. I think he's really, really talented, but it is hard. Like, generally speaking, if you're a top 3, 4, 5 pick, especially as a guard, the team that picks you is a lottery team, and they give you the ball, and you get a chance to like play through mistakes. And we couldn't give it to him. We couldn't get. If you think about it, the prior year, Amen was in the exact same situation, and and we gave him a little bit, and Amen's different just because, like, okay, if you can't play the 1, we'll put you at the 5. Like, what Amen can just play every position, and so he actually, if you think about how he carved out his initial role, it was without the ball in his hands, even though he'd played his entire life with the ball in his hands, and now he's slotting back into that. But with Reed, I think, he's just unique. It's generally don't get drafted into teams that are as competitive as good as we are.
I'm curious if you see him. A lot of us looked at him at college and saw Mark Price potentially because he can really shoot it from distance.
You're dating yourself. Most of the
I know,
audience is
but I
like,
know
who the hell is like?
I know I can say that to you, and you know Mark Price, and Will know Mark Price. But and that's quite a compliment. I mean, he had that off the bounce, quick rise, mid-range game, coming off of screens. Do you see him in that kind of role where he can play the 1? Like, how do you envision him? How do you and Ime envision his role positionally? Off the ball, on the ball? Is he good enough to be on the ball and get others involved as a ball handler?
If he becomes the player we want him to become, for sure. Yeah, like I think he's – I wouldn't have drafted him that high if I didn't think he had a bunch of on-ball equity. He really sees the court really well. He's kind of a special playmaker on top of his shooting ability, and he's actually a really good athlete. That's one of the things that I always talk to him about is like, I'm not giving you any passes.
Like 41-inch vertical. As somebody who does combine stuff for the NFL, I've got an issue with this run up. Although I will say it's actually more like a real game.
How you play the game.
It's actually like in the NFL where
Right.
And so I saw his was, so I pay attention to this stuff. I'm like, okay, I think it was 36, 38, 39 inches flat, just straight up. And with a running vertical, it was over 40. So I mean, a guy can leap. He's explosive.
He can really go. He's fast, like, and he's got a little twitch to him, and he's strong. Like, he's not light.
Is he strong enough?
Yeah,
because I wonder if he's strong enough to defend twos, though.
He will be.
Okay.
Like, and he's way stronger now than we got him. He's going to be a big solid kid who can move. But I'm not. People look at him and they think and they think he's not an NBA athlete. And that's just not right. That's not right.
Real quick, can you shine a light on a trade that didn't happen that you can talk about now that's fun to?
I won't do that.
I probably not, but go for it.
I don't know. Anything that you can.
Oh, you were just saying any deal.
Yeah, like any deal that was in the works that was close to happening that just didn't happen for the Rockets when you've been working.
No, I wouldn't. That's not
You
fair.
could.
Yes. The answer is I could. I will not, but I could.
Then I'll ask you this: did you ever have conversations about the big man from Greece in Milwaukee?
No, we didn't.
No conversations?
No, no.
That's what the insider said.
No, Milwaukee. Like I really I deal well with John Horst. I really like him, and John was very clear that they weren't doing anything. So like.
That's what it appeared.
Who are you going to talk to?
All right. Once he says no,
All
right, that's Jordan Bellstone, general manager for the Houston Rockets. We're excited. October is when basketball starts. Now, it used to be November. They crept in October, and that's even earlier. You've got 26, 28 games on national television this year. Man, things have changed under your direction and the direction of Ime Udoka. We're really excited about Rockets basketball. Kevin Durant, a Rocket, and you got so many players who are still on the upward tilt. So things are looking up. Congratulations. Great job so far. But I know the accomplishments you're not in the books yet, so you gotta keep working and keep hunting As you said, you're still the hunter.
No, there's no trophy for off seasons. So yeah, we're starting. Every year you start at the bottom. Everybody's 0-0, and you gotta earn what you get. And for those teams that think that it's going to be handed to them, it tends to be rough years.
Never is, and especially not in the West. Rafael, thanks for coming in studio. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.